crackers, and welcome back to Cracking the Cryptic. Today going back to variant Sudoku and one of our all-time favourites, Sandwich Sudoku. We like this obviously because we helped introduce it more widely and gave it the name, and our first app, which you can still source from the description field below, is based on Sandwich Sudoku. Now in this variant, as well as the normal Sudoku rules and very few givens in the grid, you get these clues outside the grid, and they're very important, and they show the totals of the digits between the 1 and the 9 in that column or row. So for this 30, it's saying that between the 1 and 9 in this column, and there must obviously be one of each, the numbers in between those add up to 30. And in fact, let's start there. That's a very good place to start, because the maximum that the numbers 2 to 8 add up to is 35. So if the 1 and the 9 were at the absolute ends of the column, the numbers in between would add up to 35. If they add up to 30, that means there's a total of 5 outside the 1 and the 9. This 3 must clearly be outside the 1 and the 9. And it must be outside with a 2 to make that 5. You can do the maths to check that 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 add up to 30. But where does the 2 go that's outside the 1 and the 9? Well, it can't be here, because that would be in a row with another 2. So it must be here. We must have a 1 or a 9 here and here. So that's a useful start. Big numbers, very big numbers, sort of 30 and above, are helpful, as are small numbers. You can see here that there's a 4, and anything below 5, there has to be just one digit, but above 0, sorry, 2, 3 or 4, there has to be just one digit between the 1 and the 9. 4 can't be made up of 1 and 3 because there's already a 1 in the column. So that 4 is either going to be one cell there or one cell there. It's going to be a 4, and the 9 is going to be just outside it. Now, what we do recommend is noting the squares that can't contain a 1 or a 9. On our app, you can do that very easily by using a little X control. Now on the software, it's probably more easily done by doing some colouring, and that's what I'm therefore going to do here. I'm going to colour all the cells that I can immediately see cannot contain a 1 or a 9. And if you want to check the maths at some point, please do so, but I'm pretty confident that these cells are my kind of initial. I'm going to paint them green, and they cannot contain 1 or a 9 because they're either too close or too far away from, now I've got it wrong down this central aisle. I don't know quite how I did that, but there we go. I'm losing control of my keys. And there we are. I'm not going to bother colouring in the numbers that aren't 1s or 9s that are already in the grid, but they clearly aren't 2. So for the positions of 1s and 9s, we're looking at the white cells that remain in the grid. Now, what else can we see here? Yeah, look. I think this works. This 20 clue in the central row here, that is very interesting. Now 20 has to be at least 3 cells long. Now you might think that immediately that could be there, there or there, even with a 1 or 9 outside it. 20, by the way, could be 4, could be 5 cells long, so it could be all of them. But one thing that we do know about 20 is that if it's 3 cells long, it would have to be 8, 7 and 5. Given that the numbers have to be below 9, that's the only 3-digit combination that adds to 20. So if this were a 3-cell 20, it would either be 8, 7, 5 there, there or there. And because of the 8 and the 7 already in the central 3x3 box, we can't achieve any threesome which has 2 digits in the central box that are 8, 7 and 5. So that's actually impossible. This 20, we now know, must be at least 4 cells long, and therefore all these 3 central cells cannot be the 1 and the 9. We don't know if it is 4 cells long, whether it's this or this, could be 5 cells. So we can't be sure about those two, but we can be sure about these. And what that's done, rather beautifully, is meant that we've only got 1 cell remaining in the central box where the 9 can go, and that's here. So we can fill in the 9 there. We now know where the 4 is. This one becomes green. We can make these two green, and interestingly, we don't know which side of that 9 the 1 is going. Either it's 8-4 here or 7-5 there, but can't decide that yet. But that's a really neat bit of work to get that going. Now, there was some symmetry about both the givens in this puzzle, which kind of form a little Eiffel Tower shape, but also with the numbers at the top. Can you see from columns 2 through 8, they're actually symmetrical. I didn't think that really mattered, but look at these cells. They're very interesting, not anymore from the 20 row, but from the 24 columns that they both occupy. Now we must have one of the 1 or 9s down here. 24 has to be at least 4 cells long in between the 1 and the 9. Now what that means for those two cells is they can't be 1s and 9s, because we need this 4 cell or 5, and we need 4 or 5 in this column, and basically you couldn't get a 1 or a 9 into the center. So now we know that at the edges we've now got a 5 cell group, which actually has to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we will therefore have 7 and 8 outside it, but the 1s and 9s in this row must be in those two remaining white cells. And the symmetry again, we've got 0s above those 1s and 9s, so although we don't know which of the cells next to them the other 1 or 9 occupies, we do know that it does occupy one of them. That gets rid of this cell as a possibility. And that, for column 1, is very helpful, because now I can put a 9 in column 1. It must be there. There must be a total of 11 outside the 1 and 9 there, but I don't know how that works. But now we can use this 18 clue. 18 has to be at least 3 digits long. They are all green. And we're making some actual progress. I mean, that's a fascinating bit of symmetry that I really wasn't expecting to be using here. Very clever. Nice puzzle that. Or a nice aspect of it. Now, these zeros mean that we've now constricted the 1s and 9s to being in these sets of cells. So everything outside them in these columns we can make green. What else can we do? Now we've got these kind of 4 little white blocks left that we can't quite resolve. Now none of them have got zeros in the rows or columns, so they're always going to be little Battenbergs or X-wings or offset numbers within them, the 1s and 9s. They're never going to be next to each other. But I'm not sure if we can resolve quite how they do work. What could we use? Oh, there's a 14 here. No, that could be an 8 and 6. Yes, here we go. The 18 here. The 18 here has to be at least 3 cells, so those ones are green. That's really, I mean, it's a really pretty puzzle, I think. I hadn't expected this at all. So we can get a 9 there in this little group of white cells, therefore the remaining 1 has to go there. Gives us a 1 here and a 9 here. That's become a 9 now. This has become a 1, and that's really helpful because it's 9 can't be here in the same box with another 9. It has to be here, so we can fill in the 1 there. And the last 9 and 1 in the grid go in there and there. So, oh no, not the last ones, because we've still got to resolve these two, but the last one's in the top and bottom boxes, and I mean that's really neat. Now what we did notice, oh no, 18 here, although we know it's 3 digits, we don't know what they are. It must contain an 8. I'm gonna just fill in a 8 on the corner there to show that one of those is an 8. Now we've got 10, that's not really going to help, and as we said, that 12 doesn't help. So we can't really resolve these remaining white pieces yet. But let's see what we can do now. There's 15 there, that's not all that helpful. This is either 8, 6, 4 or 8, 7, 3, but I don't know which way that goes yet. 30's been done, 24, so these two add up to 11, these two add up to 11. 22, yes, that is useful. Okay, the 2 outside the 1 and the 9 in a 22 column must add up to 13. Now 13 is either 7, 6 or 8, 5, and we've had the 7 in the column, so that's 8, 5, and here exactly the same, symmetry again, but we've used the 8 in the column, so now it's 6 and 7 there. That doesn't actually help us. We knew this was 8, 6, 4 or 8, 7, 3, but we still don't know which way round that goes. If it was 8, 7, 3, this would have to be the 3. If it was 8, 7, 4, that would have to be the 4, but that's not telling us everything. Right, how about the 22 at the bottom? Well, if there's 22 between them, 32, 35, there has to be 10 more in these two cells, and we've had 2 and 3 in the box already, so that's 4 and 6. That is useful because it determines this 7, 6 pair, and now we know that this is 6, 8, 4 here. I mean, that's really neatly done, I have to say. 7, 6 here, we have got to fit a 7, 6 into this box, they must both go in there. This must be 3 and 4. Get rid of 3 and 6. So that's now a 2, 5 pair. This is a 3, 6 pair. We can place the number here as a 2. 3 and 5 are disambiguated by the 3 down here. That's really nice. There's a 3 over here, but I don't know in which of the cells. This is either 5 or 7. Now what else can we use? Right, this 24, as we said, it's got 11 outside and a 4 or a 6 down here. So this one is 5 or 7. Can we use this 22 across the top? Ah, look, yes, we've got a 2 between the 9 and the 1. Actually, that would have been something I could have used a while ago. These 3 have to add up to 20. As we said before, that has to be 8, 7, 5. So that one is either 8, 7 or 5. These 3 are 3, 4, 6. The 2 outside the 24 in this column have to add up to 11, but haven't really made great strides towards identifying which one goes with the 3. And this 24 as well, again, has to add up to 11 outside the 1 and 9. And now this is helpful because this is a 2 or 8, 2 and 8 pair down here, so that has to be the 8. 2 there, we can put in 3 here, get rid of the 3 possibilities. This one can't be 8 anymore. That's really neat as well. Now I'm beginning to think that we've used an awful lot of the clues. 20 in this row, and we've got 5 already there. So to make up the remaining 15 between the 1 and the 9, they have to be 8 and 7, and that fixes that cell. So we've got a 3, 7 pair here now. 5, 4 and 6 here. Don't really know the order. And can we do anything with this 24 clue? No, that's not resolved yet. 28, no, 22 I mean, no. So, okay, how about this 14 stretch here? If this was 8, that would be too much. We can't make 6 out of those 2, so that has to be the 5. So the other two have to add up to 9, which has to be 6, 3. Okay, now we've fixed this one on the edge. That has to be a 7 to add up to 11 outside the 24. That's a 4. We can do that one. We can resolve that pair. This 6 is determined now. The 5, 7 pair have been resolved by this 5. So clever. I mean, this is really a nice puzzle. I really hope you've had a go at it yourself before having a look at this, because I think there's a lot to enjoy here. 8's the last possible candidate there. 2, 4 go in there. 3, 8, 6. It's very rare with a sandwich puzzle to get this far and still not have placed 1s and 9s, but we haven't done that yet. 5 and 2 there. 3, 1, 2, 9, 8. This can't be 2 or 3. This, I don't know what, that can't be 5. Haven't managed to restrict it anymore. This can't be 4 or this 5. Now, what else have we got? We haven't used this 10 clue. Ah, and this is interesting. Now this 2, 5, for this to be the 9, that would have to go with an 8 here, impossible, or a 5 with that 5, and that's impossible. So the 9 must be here. So now we can finally, at this late stage, finish off the 1s and 9s. This is either a 7 or 4 to go with that 3 or 6. But this 1, 9 pair adds up to 12 between it, so that we can put in a 4 there, and now we can put 4 in here, 3 there. That resolves the 6, 3 pair, and we can do the 10 clue. I think we've finally used all the pieces of information from the clues outside the grid now, and the rest of this should therefore just be regular Sudoku rules. And I mean, what a clever puzzle it's been. I really like this. Thanks very much to Stinolez. It's I think it's worked exactly as you would have hoped. It's a really pretty unwinding of a puzzle. That's been, I don't want to get too carried away with myself, but I really did think we were closing in on a finish, but we haven't quite got there yet. Oh yes, this 6, 4 pair has been resolved. That's what I wasn't spotting there. 6, 1, 6. So we can put 2 in there, 3 there, 8, 3, 6, 5 and 8 pair there. What a lovely puzzle. Look at that. 5, 2 pair there. 5. That's really nice. I'd have been very proud of this. So I think that's correct, unless I've mistyped a number at some point, and that suggests I haven't. So there we go. A rather pretty Sandwich Sudoku. I'm not going to take my green shading out of the grid because it doesn't really matter. Thank you very much for watching. Do subscribe if you're new to our content and you like it. And remember that on Patreon we have a bit of extra content for those who follow us and subscribe a little money each month on Patreon. Look for Cracking the Cryptic there. Thanks very much for watching. Hope to see you again soon, and bye for now.